This is one of hundreds of slides recovered while death cleaning my Aunt Gemma's apartment nearly 30 years ago. Gemma was my father's only sister. She lived alone. This man in the pictures is a fiancé she met while posted at the Canadian Embassy in Germany. He would go on to leave her and break her heart. She never married. As we only saw her at Christmas, I barely knew her. As a teenager, I found her sad and a bit repelling. She died of a stroke at the age of 63. I did not know their older brother Paul either, and I lost a trace of his 3 kids, my cousins, whom I only met once at their mother's funeral in 1970. Working with this collection of slides has allowed me to reminisce about these long-lost family members, to construct a better story than the one I remember. After years of storing these on a shelf, occasionally picking them up to see if I could do something with them, holding a few up to the light to see what they were about, concluding more than once that they were not very interesting touristy pictures, not really worth the investment of time required to sort, scan, and touch up each one for printing. Each time I put them back on the shelf, while unable to part with them because of their status as a unique finite material, and because they're an artifact that connects me to my family history, providing evidence that I am part of a continuum. The slides as objects tell their own story. In this image, for instance, one of many taken during a gathering of schnapps drinking friends. It's so red compared to the others in the series, yet they were all kept in dark storage. I'm assuming this was ectochrome film processed in commercial labs with varying quality control, bad lighting, or merely just the end of the roll. Some of my followers on Instagram start commenting on the special feel of these images. I suggest maybe it's because of the less saturated colors of weathered 35mm slides. Karen suggested something else, too, that it's about imagining a life lived that feels so ordinary and yet so specific at the same time. Like our lives. Because the slides are numbered, I can put them back in their sequential order and begin tracing their itinerary from images of specific sites. They've become images that tell a story, albeit a speculative one I'm free to reconfigure. It begins to make greater sense, and I gather the pictures are taken during a holiday in Bavaria and the Austrian Alps. Using Google searches, I'm able to identify the castles, churches, and monasteries they visit along the way. Processing these slides was greatly facilitated when I discovered I could photograph them by holding my phone camera up to my little Panaview. This much simpler and faster process allowed me to rifle through these slides rather than having to scan each one on a flatbed scanner. Each photo is then cropped in the photo app and instantly shared on social media to a handful of engaged followers. I then land on this photo of a town that I can't identify. It's neither Etal, nor Obergermau, nor Füssen, nor Garmisch-Partenkirchen. At this rate, I will take more time to decode these slides than Gemma will have taken to travel to the Alps. By now, a few of my Instagram friends are following the series, and one of my followers figures it out. That's Innsbruck in Austria. The church tower is the Stift Wilton Monastery. He adds it was a fun challenge to track it down, and I agree. Google image search, however, was not very helpful. When asked to identify this image of Austro-Germanic heraldry, it produced these wild results. A sidewalk crack drawing, a series of Japanese prints, a papyrus of Egyptian hieroglyphs, an open scrapbook with random images including one of Jackson Pollock drip painting, And a very disturbing kid's drawing of buildings on fire under a black cloud with a sad stick figure in one of the windows. The end of the trip marks the end of the slides collection and of the story I have constructed from them. There may be more stories to pull from these, but I'm content with this one. I'm now free to play with the slides as objects unto themselves, now purged of assumptions and guilty feelings about Tante Gemma, the aunt I barely knew when she was alive. I can arrange them in a grid and play with their form and translucent colors. I have rehabilitated her in my memory with these images of a time in her life when she seemed truly happy.